old saying, never meet your heroes? Well, I did. And it was
So I've spent quite a bit of time playing the beta for Marvel's Avengers, and I've got to say that I am kind of worried. So in terms of what's included in the beta, it kicks things off with A-Day, which is sort of the tutorial level, introduces you to all the Avengers and, lets you get a feel of how they play and everything like that. After you've done that, you do a few more single player missions involving the Hulk and Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel, and once that's done you can then try out the multiplayer, which is kind of like the meat of the beta. So to start things off, let me talk about the combat, because that's what Square Enix is pushing as being really in depth, really complex. I like it to an extent. There's a few gripes that I have which we will get into later, but for the most part I did like it. Each hero does feel very different and distinct, so I do appreciate that. In the beta there is only one skill tree available for each character, but when the game's fully released there will be 3 skill trees, so I can imagine combat will get a lot more expansive. So for the multiplayer, the roster was limited to Iron Man, Hulk, Black Widow and Miss Marvel. There was no Captain America or Thor for whatever reasons. I found myself playing as Iron Man and Black Widow most of the time, purely because I just enjoyed them the most. Iron Man was really cool, zooming around the map, firing off your repulsors, lasers, rockets. He was really fun to play as. And my second favourite was Black Widow, which was surprising because going into this I didn't think I'd enjoy that much. But she's really agile, really quick. She's utilising like her stun batons, dual pistols, grappling hook, zipping around enemies, flipping over them, all that sort of stuff. She's really fun to play as. So yeah, I'd say those two are definitely my favourite, whereas I'd say Miss Marvel was my least. I liked her character, but gameplay wise I wasn't really feeling it, and I think I'm in the minority when I say that because I've heard a lot of people really enjoyed how she played. With the Hulk, initially I really loved it. I was having so much fun. Like, he's a total powerhouse. You can rip chunks out of the ground, leap into the air and smash like 10 enemies at once, grab someone, beat someone else up with that person in your hand. Like, he's really fun. But after a couple hours I did just get kind of bored of all the smashing, I'm not gonna lie. It felt like I was seeing the same moves over and over again, and like, even though I was trying to mix up combos and play differently, I just felt like I was doing the same thing over and over again with him. But you know what, I'm going to let that slide, because like I said, each character is going to have 3 skill trees once the game is actually out, so I'm expecting a lot more from the characters combat wise. In the short time that I had with Captain America and Thor, I did really like them. Cap more so, purely because like Thor felt pretty sluggish. That I wasn't a fan of that. But using Mjolnir was really fun, and I can see Thor being a lot of people's favourites. From the small amount I've played of single player, I did quite like that as well. It seems like it's shaping up to be an interesting story, and I'm interested to see like Kamala's involvement with the Avengers and how they all come back together. I think it could end up being really good. Honestly, I think I could end up liking the single player more than the multiplayer, because I think the multiplayer's got some issues. And when I'm talking about multiplayer, I am referring to the Warzone missions and the Drop Zone missions, which, even though you can play them alone, you can tell that they're designed to be played with other players. So I've put a good amount of hours into like playing those Drop Zone missions, playing the Warzone missions, and I've got a few concerns. One of the main issues I had playing the beta was the lack of mission variety. Every mission I felt like I was doing the same thing over and over again with some minor differences. The objectives were, either capture a zone or defend an objective or destroy something, all whilst waves of enemies would flood in. There were some different enemy types which tried to mix things up, but I didn't feel like I had to play that much differently. It wasn't like I might have had to dodge a bit more or punch the enemies a bit more. I didn't feel like they were forcing me to play that much differently. It's evident that Square Enix don't want this game to be seen as like this mindless button basher, but in the beta that is kind of how it felt. That doesn't mean it's not fun. Like, I did have fun with it, especially when I was playing with friends, but here's the thing, when the missions start feeling repetitive, then so does the combat. But again, I can give it the benefit of the doubt. This game could end up launching with like 100 different mission types, and I'll be eating my words, and I hope that is the case. So another gripe that I had with the beta was that even though there are a few different locations like the jungle, the snowy tundra, the city, the Utah Badlands, once you're in those environments you start to notice that things feel pretty similar. You start seeing a lot of the same buildings. I think in every mission I was in a facility. I think I could think of maybe 2 or 3 missions where I wasn't, and those facilities literally seemed copy and pasted. And the thing with these areas is that they start to feel very claustrophobic. They've got these tight corridors and tight spaces, and some characters just don't feel too great in them. I can imagine that making all these characters traverse and fight comfortably together in different environments was a challenge for Square Enix, but games like Spider-Man on PS4, the Arkham series, they're going to tailor environments and missions around that specific hero, so it plays the best it can. Avengers needs to take into account 6 different heroes at launch and more in the future, and that's not an easy task to accomplish. For example, Hulk and Iron Man are way more suited to big open areas, so when they're crammed into these tight spaces, things get really messy, especially when there's so much happening on screen. And that's the thing, when things start getting hectic, it's hard to see what's going on. And that gets frustrating because you can't see where you are or where you're being attacked from. And that leads me on to the next issue, which is a big one, my major problem with the game, and that was the frame rate. I had many instances where the frame rate felt as though it was dropping to like 20 FPS, maybe even less. It was bad. Whenever there was loads of enemies on screen, or me and my friends are pulling off all these flashy moves, the game clearly could not handle it, and that impacted how much I enjoyed the combat. And the motion blur doesn't help either. And even though it's the beta, and I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, they'll fix it at launch, I don't think it's going to be fixed on launch day. Maybe later down the line, but at launch day, I don't think it will be. The frame rate is my major concern because that's what ruined my experience the most. So here's the thing, when you combine that mission repetitiveness with the bad frame rate, that's going to have a massive negative impact on the combat. In regards to the loot system in the game, honestly, I don't think this game needed to be loot orientated. I don't think it needed to be that type of game, but that's the direction they went for, so it's fine. I mean, how it works is each piece of gear contributes to like your overall power level, and it can provide stat bonuses or modifiers to your weapons. So like for example, I could equip pin particles to Iron Man's lasers, so whenever I shot an enemy it would shrink them, or you can like infuse gamma radiation or cosmic energy into your attacks. It's little things like that. The thing is, in the beta I felt like I was only putting on the strongest gear just so I could increase my power level to do the harder missions. I don't really think of anything more than a number. I know a lot of people don't like that the gear doesn't impact the appearance of the characters, and I get that, but I don't mind as long as it genuinely has a significant difference on my playstyle. But the thing is, I can see it damaging the grind in the long run. So for example, there's a lot of in-game resources that act as a way to level up your gear, so I can see that being like, you want to grind those resources out. The problem is that, say with something like Monster Hunter, where you're farming the same monster over and over again, it's going to lead to an awesome set of armor, or like a really cool weapon, but Avengers is just going to present you with a higher number, which clearly is not as satisfying. I'm not saying that the full game's going to be like that. I do think that the potential is there for the loot to drastically impact my playstyle. I'm just saying, in that beta, from what I played, it didn't really do that. Now, I know it sounds like I'm ripping this game up, but I didn't hate it. I don't think it's amazing, but I don't think it's bad either. It's just that I have a lot of worries. And despite a lot of the criticisms that I have highlighted, there is still a lot of fun to be had with it. I do think that it's going to be quite a divisive game. Some people are going to like it, some people aren't. For me personally, the combat was fun enough to get me through it. It's just that, you see, the other aspects severely dampened how much fun I was having, and these are where the worries stem from. And see, if things become really repetitive in terms of level design and mission structure, then the combat's going to become monotonous, even with the additional skill trees. I am impressed with like how different each character feels, and I did enjoy that. And that's definitely one of the game's biggest strengths. I am still excited for the game, and I'm definitely still going to be playing it when it launches. I just hope that there's a lot more to it than the beta suggests. I know I've talked a lot about gameplay. In regards to the technical aspect, I didn't really have any problems. I think I had a couple instances where the sound effects cut out, and an enemy got stuck in a wall, so we had to restart the mission. But apart from that, I didn't really have any problems. I know a lot of people were running into their game crashing and whatnot, but for me it was all alright. I do want to touch on the marketplace really quickly too. So there is a marketplace where you can purchase cosmetic items such as outfits, nameplates, emotes, and they can all be bought with credits. So the beta gives you 3,000 credits to spend on a limited marketplace, but my worry is that it's going to be really difficult to earn those credits. The only way I saw that you could earn them in the beta was to progress the challenge card. So what the challenge card is, it's a battle pass that each character has, and it earns you, in-game resources, credits, exclusive outfits. But then here's the problem with the challenge card. The challenge card can only be progressed by completing daily and weekly objectives. So that means the game is kind of dictating how much progress you can make with that challenge card. I do reckon that you'll be able to earn credits in other ways too, such as, in-game events or completing specific missions. I just hope it isn't too much of a grind. The thing is, with all the DLC being free, such as the story expansions and the new characters, the game is going to be making its money off the cosmetics. So it makes sense then that the game is going to try and get you to buy those credits to spend in the marketplace. I will say that this game does have the potential to be a really fun social game, and what I mean by that is that I can imagine jumping on with a few friends for a couple hours and just beating enemies up as our favourite Avengers. Will that fun last? I don't know. I feel like this is one of those games where we do genuinely just have to wait and see. You know, Square Enix keep reinforcing that this is a game that's going to grow over time and that they're going to keep supporting it, and I hope that is the case, because I really don't want them to screw this up. At the end of the day though, this was just my personal experience with the beta. I'm still going to be buying the game, and I don't want to put you guys off from buying it if you're still set on it. If it looks fun to you, then go ahead. I just wanted to let you know some of the issues I encountered. But that is it from me. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope this video was somewhat informative and gave you an indication as to what the game, plays like. This is my first video, so hopefully I did a good job. You can expect a full review from me once the game is actually out. And if you're interested in what I've got to say about video games, then, feel free to subscribe. You can also check out the website I write for, obelisk.co. I'll leave a link in the description. I've written a few articles on there. It's a really good website. I do suggest that you guys check it out. But yeah, that's everything from me. Peace.